Okay, we're continuing to the journey to Atlantis by Thea Stilton, starting on page 241. We're almost done. And that rhymes. 39th chapter. The Silk Road. While the Thea sisters were in Portugal, I had combed through the dustiest archives in the Museum of Rodent History. That's funny. They contained documents collected from many unusual sources. The collection was a mess, but I finally found a manuscript that told of the travels of a Portuguese explorer with the initials A.V. Could it be Antonio Voyager? According to the story, a young explorer had been asked by the King of Portugal to embark on a secret voyage. The king equipped him with a ship, and he set sail on a mysterious journey. The ship never returned, and the explorer was thought to have been lost at sea. But 25 years later, he reappeared in Lisbon. Whenever anyone asked him where he had been, he gave them a bizarre response. "I was in another world," he would say with a mysterious smile. When he returned to Lisbon, A.V. became an ocean trader. He traveled to Constantinople and Africa, following a strip of the ancient Silk Road. This route united the Chinese Empire with the West. Merchants followed the route on overland seas and rivers to reach China and buy silk. Then they would return to Europe and sell it there. I couldn't believe what I was reading. The details seemed to match what Atlas had told us about Antonio Voyager. When I told the Thea sisters what I had discovered, they decided to follow the Silk Road to see if they could find the hidden map places. They took a plane to Istanbul, Turkey, a city that was formerly known as Constantinople, the first city that Voyager reached on the Silk Road. Right there. Thea has done it again, Colette remarked, looking at the map I had sent them.
Okay, let's look at this map here.
Zoom in on it. See? That's a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The Silk Road. In ancient times, this collection of routes over land and sea connected the great empires of China and Rome. Merchants would buy silk in China and trade it to other countries along the route. China, and I don't see Rome. It's back there somewhere.
Mm-hmm. It's off the map. Or is it right on the edge?
Maybe it's that thing.
It's right there.
That doesn't look very much like it. It's supposed to look like a boot. That doesn't look like a boot.
It's up there. Because Rome's in Italy. Okay.
Now we know where to look, Paulina agreed. Then her mouse phone beeped, and it was Kelly this time. Paulina answered it. "Hi, Paulina. We have put together a gadget that will let you communicate with Atlas. Where should I send it?" "To Istanbul, Turkey." "Thanks." When the plane landed, the Thea sisters discussed their next move.
Keep going.
"We don't have a specific place to search this time," Colette pointed out. "What should we do? Search the entire city?" Just then, someone bumped into Colette. Excuse me," he muttered. The clumsy rodent had a bushy mustache. He awkwardly bowed and tipped his hat to Colette. Inside the hat, she could see the IIS symbol. A tower. She smiled, understanding, and the rodent winked at her. "Miss Colette, this is for you," he said, handing her a paper-wrapped package with an initial K in the corner. Probably Kelly. Before she could say thank you, the messenger disappeared. Poof. The package contained 6 bracelets and a card that read, "Each of you put on a blue bracelet and give the green one to Atlas." "Look," Colette cried. "This must be the communication system that Kelly invented." she invented it. She was right. When they each put on a bracelet. When Atlas began to speak in his melodious language, each one of them understood him perfectly. "Where have you brought me?" he asked. See, they're wearing their bracelets. Discovering Istanbul. This is 40th chapter?
Yeah, you don't have to say that in the middle, I guess.
Finally, Atlas and the Thea sisters could speak normally to one another. The mouselings immediately began to explain why they were in Istanbul. The other scroll we found in the tower was a letter from Antonio Voyager, Paulina told him. He said that he hid the other pieces of the map in cities he visited. Thea discovered that he traveled to Constantinople and Africa, following an old trading route. Colette went on. "We know that he was here in Istanbul, but we don't know where to look." Atlas looked at the fragment of the map, and then he asked them to read the letters to him. "Those words at the end were interesting," he said. "Can you read them again?" "In water you will find the key," Bob repeated. Atlas nodded thoughtfully. "I feel like those words are an important clue." "Istanbul is surrounded by water," Nikki remarked. "There are so many places we could start looking." Paulina opened up her guidebook. "Let's start in the middle," she suggested. They all took a taxi to the center of the busy city. They began to walk around and soon came to a building with a sign above the door that said, what does that say?
Hammam.
Hammam. A hammam, Colette cried happily. "It's a Turkish steam bath." "Did you say steam?" Atlas asked. "Does that mean there is water there?" Colette nodded. "Usually the rooms have fountains of steaming water that you can use for your bath. Maybe we should check it out." She got a dreamy look in her eyes. This building didn't exist yet during... Oh, this is a pretty picture. Voyager's time, Violet pointed out. "I don't think it's useful for us to go inside." "Let's keep moving," Nikki suggested. They walked across the Galata... What does that say?
Maybe Galata Bridge?
Galata Bridge, crossing over the Golden Horn, a canal that divides the city into two parts. The majestic Galata Tower stood on one side of the canal, offering a fantastic view of the beautiful old buildings in the city. Atlas looked discouraged. The city was so big. "Don't worry," Paulina reassured him. "We'll find the map." They left the canal behind them and began to explore the crowded streets of old buildings. They kept their eyes open, looking for anything that might be a clue. Then Atlas stopped suddenly in front of one of the buildings. This is Orichalcum," he cried with wonder.
Okay, just let me see a whole picture here. Gazing out there at the city.
That's the canal.
The canal. Okay. Good.
A small plate of shimmering red metal was attached to the stone wall. Nikki got a closer look and saw the number 3.36 engraved in it. "See?" "Check out this number," she asked. She said, "What is this place?" asked Pam. "I was reading this and this instead."
It's okay.
Violet consulted the guidebook. "It's the Sunken Palace Cistern, an old underground storage tank for water. It was built in the 6th century CE or AD by the Romans." "Did you say water? Maybe this is the water we're looking for," Pam guessed. They entered and walked down several flights of stairs. The air grew moister with each step. They finally ended up in a large, dimly lit space. It was eerily quiet, and rows of tall columns held up the arched ceiling. Water covered the floor, and the only way to explore was to walk along one of the narrow footbridges. "Maybe the number on the sign means something," Violet whispered, looking around. "There are 336 columns," Pauline said, reading through the guidebook. "That's 336. "But a dot separates the numbers on the sign," Atlas pointed out. In his diary, Antonio Voyager used this notation to give coordinates. He might
Coordinates.
coordinates, he might mean 3 degrees north and 36 degrees west. That's possible, agreed Nikki. Or the numbers could refer to the rows of columns. You know, third column in the 36th row. Or the 36th column in the third row, Paulina added. Water. It looks different than the water back here. This water's blue. That water's like greenish.
It's because it's inside. Okay.
Let's check it out, Pam cried. She went with Nikki and Colette to check out the third row. Atlas, Paulina, and Violet headed for the 36th row. Soon, Paulina's voice rang out. There's something here! At the base of the column, there was a stone carved with the symbol of Atlantis. We found the clue, Violet cried, and she ran to get the others. Atlas removed the stone from the column, revealing a small hole behind it. Inside was a small orichalcum box, identical to the one they had found in Bellum Tower. Atlas was beginning to open it when he and Paulina heard a familiar voice behind him. You can't escape me now! Uh-oh. How does Kesar do it? A plump rodent popped out from behind the nearest column. Kesar! Yelled Paulina. How did you find us? You mean you thought you got rid of me? He asked with a wicked sneer. Ha! Now you're coming with me, he said, moving towards Atlas. Paulina jumped in front of the prince. Give it up, mouseling, Kesar said with a laugh. You can't stop me this time. Before Paulina could prevent him, Kesar lassoed her with a rope, pinning her arms to her body. She couldn't move. She tried to wiggle free, but the rope only seemed to get tighter. Kesar laughed. Fight all you want, but it won't do you any good. This rope is a special invention of mine. The more you pull in the knot, the tighter it becomes, he bragged. Atlas whispered in her ear. Don't worry, I will free you. Trust me. He turned to the professor, and with a daring look on his face, he leapt off the footbridge into the water. Where are you going? Kesar said angrily as Atlas disappeared under the water. Are you just going to leave your friend here? What a cowardly thing to do. He leaned over the rail, shaking his paw. But what he didn't realize was that Atlas had... See, he lassoed her and he's down here. Swam under the ridge and was now on the opposite side. The prince took off a sash that he wore around his waist and tied one end to the railing of the footbridge. Then he threw the other end to the other side and tied it, so the sash stretched tightly across the path behind Kesar's back. Quietly, he snuck up behind the professor. Here I am! Atlas cried in his musical language. Kesar could only hear a song behind him. Confused, he turned around and suddenly saw Atlas. I'll get you! He cried, running forward. But he didn't see the sash and tripped right over it. He fell into the water. Splash! Violet, Nikki, Violet, and Colette and Pam came running up just in time to see Kesar fall. Good job! Nikki told Atlas, who was already untying Paulina. Atlas tucked the orichalcum box into his tunic. Let's go! They quickly ran up the stairs and emerged onto the street. They didn't stop until they reached a park. Atlas, thank you, Paulina said. If it weren't for you, she would have been trapped. I'm happy to help you. You have done so much for me already, the prince replied with a smile. He took out the red metal box and opened the lid. The Thea sisters gathered around to see what was inside. Another piece of the map. The top edge matched perfectly with the piece they had found in Lisbon. We've got it, Pam exclaimed. There's still one piece missing, Nikki said, gently tracing the outside line of the map with her paw. I'm sure we can find it, Paulina said confidently. That is, as long as Kesar doesn't find us again. By the way, how does he keep finding us? Nikki wondered. It's as if he always knows exactly where we are.
Violet wondered.
First Argentina, then Portugal, and now here. At that moment, Colette's pink mouse phone rang. It's Thea, she cried. Hello? Hi, Colette, I said. I finished reading that manuscript about Voyager. After Istanbul, he went to Africa, to Ethiopia, where he stopped at a place called at?
I'm not sure.
That must be where the third piece of the map is, Colette said, excited. We'll go there right away. She hung up the phone and noticed Paulina looking at her thoughtfully. Coco, can you give me your phone for a second? I need to check something. Colette gave it to her friend, who opened it up and took out the battery. Paulina peeled off a small, dark metal plate. She's good with technology. And showed it to the others. Just as I thought, there's a transmitter in this mouse phone. A what? Colette asked. This is the phone you got from Ruby's party, right? Paulina asked, and Colette nodded. Remember when Kesar's assistant gave you back your purse? That's when he must have put that transmitter in the phone. It's a chip that allows Kesar to locate us. That's how he's always able to find us. We need to throw it out immediately, Nikki cried. Pam grinned. Don't do that. I have a better idea. Should we read one more chapter? No?
I think
Okay.
the other kids are making noise.
Okay.
We probably
Bye,
should-
Benjamin.
Here, to show them what the next one's called.
Tricked.
Okay.
Bye, Benjamin.